you so much for the honor of getting to speak to you all today. It means a great deal, as you know, it wasn't that long ago that I was in high school and just, really wanting to make a difference myself. Second, it's pretty cool to be in a room where I'm actually one of the oldest ones, because that never happens anymore, so thanks for that. Third, I know you've been sitting here probably a long time this morning, so I want to do something to wake you all up. You all probably know what I'm talking about. I had to do it a ton when I was in high school. You know that thing where I say something and then you repeat it? Well, yeah, I'm going to ask you to do that. So just humor me for a little bit. Now when I say it, you repeat it. I matter.
I matter.
Okay, a little bit louder. Come on. I matter.
I matter.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask you to get up. Stand up in your seats if you can. I know. I hear the groans. I did it too. All right. We're changing it up just a little bit now, and it's we matter.
We matter.
One more time. We matter.
We matter.
Thank you. Yes, we do matter, and you do matter. Your voices and everything you care about matters. You can sit down now. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you're good at sports or had the coordination like I did where I could barely hit a tennis ball. And it doesn't matter the kind of clothes you wear or which table you happen to eat lunch at. It doesn't matter how many times you've been told you don't matter. The only thing that matters right now, this second, is that you know you are worth being heard and your voice matters. The reason I know your voice matters is because 10 years ago, I was in your shoes. Now, you might not be able to believe that now with the high-heeled ones I wear today, but I remember distinctly what it felt like to be 16 years old and to wonder, do I even matter? Does anyone even care what I have to say? What will they think if I speak out? This was not an easy journey to answer those questions. The answers came after my sophomore year in high school, where I was bullied so badly that I started to press harassment charges against the bully. When I did this, when I thought I had found my strength, when I thought I had control over the situation, classmates at school started wearing t-shirts that said, "Save the bully's name and take Abby, me, instead." Now, I've never actually shared that publicly with anybody. It's not something that plays well to press releases or is a happy talking point in a radio show, but it is very much a part of my story. And it was the catalyst of what caused me, at the age of 16, to dig deep, to find something within myself that was stronger than any one person or any one group could try to take away. What I found was my voice. What I found was a passion for the future of our state and our country, and this crazy idea that I mattered and I could actually make a difference. Now, when I started to believe this, when I started to care about issues that were bigger than myself and bigger than who was taking who to prom, I found that not only did I matter, there was a whole network of people out there that thought I did as well. These people, they started out as my teachers and my guidance counselors at Hempstead, and later, as I became a page in the U.S. House of Representatives, became congressmen and congresswomen, and then later, countless state representatives who took the time and energy to listen and cared about what I had to say when I was speaker's page in the Iowa House. And even, yes, our now Vice President, Joe Biden, after I worked on his presidential campaign. You see, when I was 16, when I saw those t-shirts walking down the hallway of my high school, when I felt that I was the furthest thing from mattering to anyone, I never would have imagined my next 10 years would play out as they have. I never would have thought that, at 26, I would be the youngest woman currently serving in the Iowa House of Representatives. Getting the privilege to stand here and talk to you today, and hopefully if I at least touch one of you, let you know that you matter too. And you know what? I want to hear your voice. We, legislators, lawmakers, we need to hear your voice. Now you may be wondering even how that happens. How do we hear you? Well, showing up today in this group is one heck of a start, so give yourself a round of applause for that. And I heard later you're going to the Capitol to talk to your local legislators about issues that are important to you. That's definitely one of the best ways to be heard. Other ways you can get involved would be to personally email or write letters to your legislators and just honestly ask for personal meetings. We'd be happy to talk with you, and if they don't, email me and let me know and I'll go track them down because they should meet with you. And they'd be happy to, I'm sure. You can also reach us where you all are, on Facebook and Twitter. I know I have a Twitter handle, @AbbyForIowaHouse, so if you ever need anything, tweet me on that. Or you can find me on Facebook. It's pretty easy to do. I know you could ask Jack Hostager, one of your organizers, about that. I actually met Jack while I was running for Iowa House, and one of my old t-shirts at Hempstead, Facebook messaged me late one night and said that Jack Hostager was going off to DC to be a U.S. Senate page, and she knew that I had been a U.S. House page and wanted to connect us. Well, I messaged Jack right away, and I said, can we get together and meet? I'd love to, meet with you before you go. And sure enough, within about an hour, we scheduled something right before he was leaving for DC. And I brought with me to give to Jack a journal that I believe said, "Enjoy the journey" on the cover. Oh, make a difference. Oops. Well, I knew it was close. I was between one or the other. So anyway, make a difference, same thing. And told him to write down everything and enjoy one of the most life-changing experiences of his life. Clearly, I think he did just that. And he didn't just enjoy DC. He brought all of that passion back to Iowa to share with you all today, and continues to invest his time and energy into the future of this state. Can we all thank Jack? I know you probably didn't know. Now, you don't have to take the path that Jack and I did with the whole U.S. congressional page thing, or even get involved in campaigns, but I'll just put a plug in here regardless. If you're Republican or Democrat, we can always use the help, so if you want to get involved, that's great. All I'm asking you today is to continue to care about something, anything. All I'm asking you today is to care and find something and be willing to fight for it. Be willing to put yourself out there and be willing to have your voice heard. Now, right now, something that I fight for every day in the Iowa House, and is education funding for our schools. You all deserve the best we can give you, and school districts across the state deserve more than 1.25% increased funding. I understand that budgets are tight, but you all in this room deserve our best, and we are better than 1.25%, which would result in across-the-board cuts, bigger class sizes, and quite frankly, a less than good enough education for students across Iowa. Education should not be a Republican or Democratic issue as it's turned into this year. It's an Iowa issue that all lawmakers up in the Capitol need to hear that you care about and are willing to continue to fight with the lawmakers who are pushing for the increased funding, and continue to work with them, or continue to talk to and work with the lawmakers who are against an appropriate increase. They need to listen, and they should listen, because you do matter, and today I want to see you up in the Capitol and letting your voices be heard because you matter. Thank you all so much. questions. I know Jack said we have about probably 10 minutes for questions, so if anybody has any, feel free to ask away. Oh, hi.
Hi, I was wondering,
Wait, your name first.
Oh, Elijah.
Hi, Elijah.
Hi. I was wondering, is there any plans to appropriate more money towards teacher salaries? I mean, I know coming from a small district, and being a teacher is a valiant effort, is a valiant thing to do, and you truly have to love doing what you're doing to actually be a teacher because the money's not there for it. But I was wondering if there's anything in place to increase that.
Well, I would love to be able to do that, and right now, I mean, it's abysmal that our teachers, the lowest starting salary is actually $28,000. That's, I mean, it's not fair to our teachers, it's not fair to our kids. Some school districts do pay over that for starting salaries, but right now that's actually the state minimum. I would like to see that raised. But right now, I mean, we are trying right now to keep funding our schools, and we're already breaking law because we should have done this 16 months ago when, you know, I wasn't actually even here, but they should have had it done. And now it's become a political issue, which it should never have become. We're working right now just to get you guys the funding you need to keep schools open, to keep your teachers there. I mean, I would love to see a raise, but right now we're just trying to keep them. Because if we end up at 4%, which is what we need to be at, that pretty much stays at status quo. Originally in the Iowa House, I had fought for 6%, because not only would we stay at status quo, we would actually get to grow, and we get to invest more, and that's where maybe your teachers get to be paid more if we were at that 6%. But right now, we have Republicans in the House and the Senate and the governor at 1.25%. That's not okay, that's never going to be okay, and that's why it's not set yet, because we're not willing to give up on you guys. But I would love to see that raised as well, and thank you so much for caring about your teachers and, you know, caring about that profession, because it's something that, you know, I think a lot of us, sometimes we take for granted, and it's not until after you're out of high school maybe you look back and you realize, wow, my life would be, you know, is completely different because I had that teacher in my life, and they need to be rewarded as such. So thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Long-term speaking, if there was a 6% budget increase, then would this work long-term with the increasing debt with Iowa?
Well, right now, we could do 6%. We have the money to do it. Part of it, right now, we're looking at our taxes and what our commercial property tax break we did a few years ago, which I also was not here for. Yeah, I mean, right now the 6% would work, and down the road it would continue to work. We'd have to look at the funding every 2 years when we're supposed to set it, and set it on time. But there is money there for it, because I sit in Ways and Means Committee, where a couple weeks ago the Republicans passed out on party lines a income tax bill that would actually cost us $521 million. So there's money there, but it's just where they want to put it. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating right now. Yes?
Sometimes if you want to make your voice heard, but you're aware of the other voices in the room will be dismissive if you say what you have to say a certain way. How do you phrase things so you're not getting dismissed but still being
I totally get what you're saying. No, I love that question. That's a great question. I've actually never been asked that before, but it's perfect because you kind of need to have that voice in anything that you do. And I think what I realized that worked really well for me, I did Model United Nations when I was in high school. And when you're in a group with about, 10 to 12 very educated, people that know everything, because when you're 16, we all think we know everything. So if you're all there, everybody's an expert, and how do you get anything done? What I realized really early was that you have to listen first. You have to listen. Let their voices be heard, but don't let yours not be heard. At that point, you gotta raise your hand. You gotta speak out. Sometimes don't even raise your hand. Sometimes just speak. And when you speak, say something like, "I hear you." That's a really good point. That's great. but maybe we can look at it this way, and then put your idea out there as well. But never dismiss theirs, because there are a ton of people with a lot of opinions, and everybody wants to be heard. So let them know you hear them, but also make sure that you value yourself enough to make sure that they hear you too. So that's a good way to do it, and worked well for me. So
Thank you.
yeah. Anybody else? Oh, yep.
So how would this money be distributed among schools? So would it just be given to the schools, or would the state decide where that money would go?
There's a huge formula. I don't know if you guys are aware of the state supplemental aid formula that actually has to do with the number of people in the school district, how your taxes, property taxes within that school district are used, and then it's all distributed in different ways. So we talk about this thing called per pupil funding in our state, and if we were at 1.25%, I think we'd go down to 46 in the nation in per pupil funding. But actually every district in Iowa has a little bit of different per pupil funding because of the way their own districts and property taxes are done. So it's a really complicated thing. I can give more information to you on that if you want the ins and outs of how that all actually works. I'd be happy to do it. If you could give Jack your info afterwards, I could send you all the lovely details of how the numbers work together and how that is actually distributed, if that works for you. Awesome. All right. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
If you're planning on increasing the budget by 2%, where are you getting that 2% from? Where is that money being taken away from?
It actually has to do with our entire budget. So it's taxes. This is our revenue that's coming in, so our general fund revenue. And then you have your own property taxes within the school district that money comes into as well. But the state supplemental aid, this is the additional funding, so this is how much we invest in education, and that comes from our general fund revenue.
But where specifically are you planning on taking that 2% away from another program?
No. I mean, right now we have about a $2 billion surplus in the state of Iowa. So the money's there. And yeah, it's in the general fund. It's supposed to be actually allocated every year towards this stuff. So yeah, it's basically how do we figure, where do we put the money? I mean, I know the governor's office asked for a 9% increase for his staff. So I prefer to actually increase our student funding instead. So it's kind of the same pot, and then where do you take it? Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
So, kind of along with his question, if it's not going to education, like what is the other front runner that they want?
Exactly. I mean, that's where that thing that I talked about a little bit before, that Ways and Means Committee bill, where it was an income tax reduction of $521 million, they just would take it away. They would give it back. And this income tax bill in general, if you look at it, it equates to about a bag of groceries for a middle class family and like a boat for people making over $200,000. So that's where it would go. And that's not okay with me or many of the people up in the State House. Yeah. Yes.
Number one, congrats on your achievements that you've made
Oh,
so far.
thank
Those
you.
are amazing. And what kind of things are you said it equates to like a bag of groceries or a
Mhm.
boat. So what kind of things are you doing and saying in like with your voice that can help benefit middle class?
Absolutely. You know, this is pretty cool. The first time I actually got to use my voice on the floor of the Iowa House was when we had the state supplemental aid bill. And it was put in the first couple of weeks. It was the 1.25% by Republicans in the House. And we had an amendment that was raising it to 6%. And so I got to use my voice on that and talk about, per pupil funding, and the fact that when I came into school at the age of, I came into public school in 7th grade. I went to private school up until that point. And when I walked into public school, we were at, I think, 25th in the nation in per pupil funding, and now we're down to 36. So, and we would be at 46. So I talked about that and how, when we invest in our students, you get students who are engaged, who care, and this is what you get. You get someone who gets to be elected at the age of 26 and has a voice on the floor of the Iowa House. This is why we need to be investing. So I used it that way, and then in committee meetings, and then always on the floor I've spoke a few times on certain issues that are very important. And when you're in the minority, so Democrats are at 43, and I don't want to get too partisan, but I guess that's hard when we're talking about this issue because it is right now. We're at 43 and Republicans are at 57. And what you realize in the minority is that your voice a lot of times means a lot more than your vote. So you have to use it. And I work every day to make sure it's being used in the right way. So, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, gosh. You.
As the youngest representative, what challenges have you had to overcome?
Well, I'm not the youngest representative. I'm the youngest woman. There is one younger than me, Republican Jake Heifel, actually, is 24, I think. But, I've worked in the Iowa House for a long time, so it wasn't that much of a transition. But this is a funny story. I'm sure you'll love this. So I was sitting in committee meeting, second, third week of session, and one of the representatives was sitting next to me, and I was wearing this blue jacket, and pages, you'll see up there, wear blue jackets. And he looks at me and asks me to hand out papers. And I go, oh, okay, like I don't have a problem with handing out papers, but I kind of knew what was happening. And he looks at me, and he was completely mortified because he looked at my name tag and goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you're not a page, you're a representative. And yeah, I am. But so sometimes you get mistaken for, being a page, and I was a page, so that's kind of funny. I was a clerk, so you get mistaken for I still hear people say representative, and I will look around and go, who are they talking to? Because I'm still not used to it. But it's not huge. I think there's a little bit of a generational gap, and you can see that in your own caucus or across the aisle, but it's not that. It's more of a learning thing, and I kind of know where I'm at and that I have a lot to learn, so it's nice to have a lot of mentors. So it's almost a benefit to get to, people want to help. So that's great. Yes?
Okay. So with that generational gap, when you sometimes are talking about things, does that make there be different issues? Because when you're talking to your parents, there's that generational gap. So it's
A little bit.
Some things hard to talk about.
Yeah, I saw that on one particular issue where they, for years had been told to talk about this issue a certain way. And I came in there and I was just like, I don't care. We're supposed to use empathy. And I'm like, I don't have any empathy for this issue. I don't want to use empathy language. I just want to be mad because I was so mad about this issue. But then, you sit back and you start having the conversation and you realize, okay, you do have more to learn, and you have a different perspective, and then they appreciate your perspective and they see it a little bit differently, and it does kind of change the issues that you're talking about, which is good, because that conversation that we had that day would never have been had anybody I was running against would have been here instead of me. So that's one of the good things that happens when you're young and in office. Yeah.
Representative, we have time for one more question.
Okay, one more. Anybody? You go again, it's fine.
As a young adult, how do you get informed about bills that are on the floor locally that you can possibly impact versus something dealing with the federal government, which is power?
Absolutely. Well, there's a few different ways. I mean, you can even get involved locally, your own city council stuff. That's easy. Go to a city council meeting. I mean, they would be so excited to see you, trust me. I mean, they can get kind of dull. So show up, get excited. They'll be really excited and want to talk to you afterwards and wonder why you're there. So go, just show up. And second, for state issues, that's also something you really can affect. I mean, you're going to go out there today and you are going to affect a lot of people. I promise you that you will. So you can go onto the state legislative website. You can follow the House Democrats, follow the House Republicans, follow the Senate. Figure out, because we talk about those bills. Follow me on Facebook, add me, and you'll see some of the things that we're talking about. And just, start contacting people and getting involved. It's pretty, I don't want to say it's easy because it's not easy. It takes effort. It's going to take effort. And but I know you guys are all really capable in this room, and you have the effort to put into it. So I hope you do. And we need you, please. My gosh, we need you. Seriously. The biggest thing we're facing right now in Iowa is a population. We're losing our population. So wherever you go to college, if you go elsewhere, great, come back, because we really, really need you here. And stay involved, please. I beg you. So solving solving the population crisis, one speaking thing at a time, I hope so. But please get involved and stay involved. Thank you.